Hi, this is The Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith, and today I'm going to take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 3, Episode 17, which was basically a highlight reel of Martell and Melody's dysfunctional relationship. I don't know why Carlos put this together. Maybe it's because Melody doesn't want to film with Martell anymore. I don't know what happened, but I would like to take this opportunity to look into their relationship even further. And there is a reason why I've always had a soft spot for Melody. Even though Melody can appear to be self-centered at times, she can appear to be selfish, what other words? Myopic, hard-nosed, uncompromising, and all those things, right? I am glad that she is this way, because in order for her to survive a relationship with a narcissist, she would need to have those characteristics to survive being with someone who is emotionally and mentally abusive and verbally abusive too. For example, narcissists like to play on women insecurities. They want women to feel bad about themselves because it's easier to extract supply from someone who doesn't know their worth. So they will give themselves to you completely, right? Like Arionne. But with someone like Melody, Melody's self-worth comes from herself. She's very confident in herself. She's always been this way from before she met Martell. Martell, I think, was very supportive of Melody in the beginning of their relationship, but I don't think it was all altruistic. There was some altruism there. He wanted her to win in life because he wanted to see her grow, and it made him feel better as a man to help her get there. But once she got to a certain point and he realized that he wasn't growing with her, the jealousy kind of kicked in. And then he became destructive and abusive to her, because he could no longer help her the way that he used to, and in a way that validated his own worth. So what happens in some instances, if you look at celebrities, right? And I'm not saying Melody was a celebrity before this. If you look at celebrities, people will do anything for a celebrity. They will give them free things. They will help them out, because it makes them feel good to be able to help somebody who doesn't really need it, or they want to be associated with that celebrity. They want to feel like they are now, they now have access to that celebrity's energy and power because they're helping them do something. They're relevant to that celebrity. I'm not saying Melody was a celebrity. I'm not saying she was treating Martell like she was. What I am saying is that sometimes people help you because it makes them feel better to be associated with you. They're not helping you out of the goodness of their heart, because if they did, they wouldn't flip on you like that. If you really cared about somebody the way Martell said he cared about Melody and wanted her to succeed, he would not have flipped it on her when she didn't need him as much as far as in the professional space. Now, when it comes to being a father to the children and, a business partner, yes, she still needed him in that regard. But when it comes to other things she was trying to do, he did not need her as much because, one, he didn't elevate his game. So he was not in a position to help her as much as he could have. And number two, she had already had a vision for herself before she even met him, right? And he was helping her to do that, to his credit, yes. But at some point, she didn't need him as much anymore. He started to feel invalidated by that. Melody's self-centeredness is needed, right? Some people who have a light about them, who have gifts and the ability to manifest, not just manifest destruction, but to manifest and build, and to be able to see an idea out to fruition, right? To have an idea, have a vision, and to execute it accordingly using their intellect and skills and knowledge and discipline. Those people are blessed. And when you have people around you that are manifestors and builders, you're going to attract vultures and predators like Martell and Arionne, and low-key Tisha too. When you have a light around you as a person And you women know what I'm talking about, because women who are empaths, women who are good, have good hearts, they attract vultures and narcissists who want to extract that energy from them. When you're a woman like Melody, you have to be a bitch sometimes. Because if you're not, the likes of men like Martell and women like Arionne will try to break you down and destroy you to make themselves feel worthy. If you look at Melody's life, if you look at her moves, her motivations, right? Her sense of purpose, what she focuses on, and you look at Martell and Arionne, you compare the two. Martell is a manifester too, and so is Arionne. But what are they manifesting versus what Melody has manifested? The things that Martell and Arionne manifest are for selfish purposes. It's only for their own self-indulgence, right? It's not to build anything. When Melody manifests something, a lot of people are eating off of her. She manifests jobs. She manifests TV shows. She manifests opportunities for people to elevate themselves. Martell and Arionne don't manifest the same thing. You can have manifestors who are, again, positive and negative. People who are predators and prey. Predators always manifest food for themselves. And prey manifest opportunities for themselves to be fed on and preyed on. Because they're builders and they're givers and they grow things. That's naturally what they do. If you look at Melody's circle, you can see that just about everybody has benefited from their association with her, including Tisha. And this is why Melody was so irritated in the first season, because she's like, yo, I brought you into my circle. I elevated your game, Tisha, and you come at me with some slick shit behind my back. This is what happens to women who have a light about them. It's easy for them to attract people who are predators. I'm thinking about celebrities like Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston had a light about her. A beautiful voice, a beautiful body, beautiful face, vivacious, vibrant, energetic spirit and energy. And she had a bunch of vultures around her. Record labels, drug dealers, her friends and family, her ex-husband. So many people wanted to feed off of her without pouring into her. And they thought that feeding off of Whitney was pouring into Whitney. Okay? Martell thought that feeding off of Melody was pouring into her. He looked better to people because he associated himself with her. And he knew this. Like I said, I don't think that initially he had bad intentions towards Melody. But when you have a personality disorder, you don't really know what you're doing sometimes. You do things out of habit and out of trauma. So Martell and Arionne are both very similar. They look similar. They act similarly. They think similarly. They want the same things. And so what happens is every move that Arionne makes and everything that she presents to the public is not productive. It's feeding off of the drama she had with Melody. The same thing with Martell. Martell, he tries to put on an image of being, professional and so on and so forth. But when you look on his social media, he talks about women being submissive and being a high value man. And where are the women who do this, that, and the third? That's the focus. If you look at Melody's social media, she's mainly about her business. Yes, she has a lot of portraits of herself and pictures of herself and other things, but you could tell she's minding her own business and is paying attention to the business that pays her, right? Minding the business that pays her, basically. So she does it for money. I'm not saying that being money hungry is a good thing, and I'm not saying Melody is, but she has 4 kids to take care of, right? But you can see based on the outcomes of their manifestations, what their intentions are, and whether or not a person is a predator or a prey. Melody had to incarnate on this planet, like many of us do, with a way of protecting ourselves. Every organism has a way of protecting themselves from predators. Frogs, snakes, cockroaches, dogs. We have exoskeleton, we have venom, we have poison, we have fangs and claws. Human beings need that too. And sometimes being a bitch and being self-centered and so confident in yourself that nobody can break you, yes, it looks bad sometimes to people who don't understand why you have to do this. Yes, it looks bad that you have to be cocky and confident and to the point where it's like you seem self-centered. You got to do that sometimes because there are predators out here like Martell and Arionne that will turn you over onto your back and attack you when you're the most vulnerable. Melody has had to cloak herself in this exoskeleton that made it hard for Martell to penetrate her, right? To get into her mind and to break her, make her doubt herself. Yes, she had weak moments, right? Where she was aggrieved and in pain, and she was upset about what he was doing. But she never lost faith and belief in herself. If she did, she would have stayed married to him. Without the TV show, I don't think the TV show was a part of her decision at all because she had already left. Martell presented the TV show to her in order for her to come back to him. And that he lied to her about that. So it wasn't, I don't think she would have stayed if it weren't for the TV show. She was going to leave anyway, and Martell knew this, which is why he put the show out there in front of her as a way to reconcile their relationship and build it back up. But my point is this. We women have to start being assholes, right? We have to start putting ourselves first. And I mean before kids, before men, before everybody. If you cannot take care of and protect yourself, you are not worth a damn to anybody. And your soul and your light will be sucked out of you by the likes of men like Martell and women like Arionne who, you know, they're colluding with each other to feed off of Melody's energy. Both of them are doing that now. They're both feeding off of Melody still. When Martell was married to Melody, he and Arionne were feeding off of Melody's energy. They were feeding off of their hatred of her, right? Which they both had in common, okay? They were both feeding off of the money that Melody was making. The hard work she was putting into the business allowed Martell to spend time with his mistress and not go to work for hours at a time. Feeding off of that too. Now, Arionne is feeding off of the hate and the disgust that people have, that she's generated based on her relationship and her interactions with Melody. Instead of building her own platform and saying, this is what I have to say and what I have to offer the world outside of that relationship. She's not doing that. Most of what she posts is about that relationship. There's nothing else going on for her. And people can say, well, you guys are doing the same thing. You're feeding off of the toxicity of the show. You're predators too. You may have a point there. But the difference between a predator and a prey is a predator does not feed anyone but themselves. The people who are doing these platforms, these YouTube commentaries and reviews, they're trying to feed the public by informing them of how to conduct themselves in these situations. Lots of wonderful ones that I love listening to and actually inspired me to do this, to create this platform, which I didn't want to do in the first place. That's not my thing. But the drama that's going on in this situation with Martell, Melody, and Arionne, it is a great way to teach people, women in particular, how not to be prey for men and other women who are narcissists. Melody is not a narcissist, in my opinion. She has a very strong exoskeleton and she's very confident in herself. But that's almost like an evolutionary trait. You have to evolve. Some spirits are coming back here. Women that were alive in the 20s and 30s, they died, right? They gave their lives over to these men to be shitted on and discarded like nothing. These women came back. They reincarnated and said, never again. I'm putting myself first. No man, no child, nothing is coming before me and my destiny. Now I can feed other people because I'm not just being food for one predator. I am creating opportunities and light and resources for other people to benefit from. In my opinion, Melody has elevated her entire circle of friends. That's the kind of person she is. And yes, again, she's kind of hard-nosed and she may be considered a bitch by some people. I don't see it as that. I see it as somebody who has to protect themselves and their light because she's a manifester of good things, of food. You have to have a light within you to be productive in life, right? You have to be nourished in order to create nourishment for other people to benefit from. Martell and Arionne are not creating nourishment for really anybody, right? Yes, there's fodder around the BS that they're doing, but we are trying to flip that negative energy into something positive that people can actually feed off of and not just enjoy the sick bullshit that they're putting this lady through. Other women have done this too. Arionne's not the only one, and Martell's not the only man to do this also. But now we have the opportunity as content creators on these platforms to transmute the negative energy that is being put out in social media and in public, that's being done in these communities and these homes and these relationships. We're taking that energy and we're transmuting it into something positive, into teachable moments for the collective. And that's what you do when you have a light about you and you're not a predator. You're not just here to feed off of people and absorb all their nutrients and do nothing in return, but leave a hollow shell behind and on to the next victim. This is what Martell wanted to do to Melody. He wanted to turn her into a hollowed out skeleton shell of a woman like Wendy Williams is. Look at Wendy Williams. I feel so bad for her. She's broken. Her mom died, lost her husband. Husband had a baby with a mistress. Now he's off happy with her and she's by herself. Health issues. This is what happens when you don't feed yourself and you're not self-centered. You end up with nothing. You give your all to a man who can leave you at any moment, right? So Melody did not give her all to this man. She gave a lot to him, but she did not sacrifice herself for him. She made some decisions that people will say were foolish, like having this last baby, which I don't, it is what it is. But she did not sacrifice herself at the altar of Martell to prove her love to him. That's how she was able to leave with some money, with some sanity, with some know-how, with some ability to still manifest and create and generate positivity. The show itself is very toxic. Yes, their dynamic is toxic. But again, if you look at Melody's platforms, she's trying to help heal other women and build with other people. She created this reality show in a city with a lot of people didn't even know where Huntsville was, and it wasn't even on the map if it wasn't for Melody's vision. Yes, Martell had to connect. He contacted Carlos King, but he didn't even want to do the show. Melody wanted to do the show. Melody saw out to get her builder's license. She has a vision for things and she can execute it and execute it well. Okay? Without backstabbing people, without using anybody, without hurting anybody. She uses her own gifts that God gave her. She's taking advantage of those gifts and she's now nourishing people around her. This is why I don't have any smoke for Melody right now. I don't. Yes, she can, I don't want to say be petty. Being petty is subjective because you have to know what she's been through to say that. But she is the kind of woman that will help build people around her. And there's no, she doesn't have any malice or ill will about it. She feels good when other people around her are doing better. Yes, some people say, well, there are narcissists that have this savior complex. Whatever the case may be. But either way, she's not a destructive person. Chris came to her with the business proposition. Marcel came to her to be a brand ambassador for their wine, right? Tisha came to her for advice on how to start to be more independent, what she's doing now. Kimmy is already older. Kimmy's like 20 years older, so she doesn't really need Melody for that. But she brought Kimmy onto this platform too, right? Destiny, there's no reason why she's on this show. I'm sure Melody's putting extra money in her pocket though, and not asking her to put herself out there unnecessarily. She's helping her friend out. The same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Some women, we have to start protecting ourselves, and it will look nasty and ugly to some people because they're not used to us being this way. But if you don't protect yourself, if you don't have your own exoskeleton, if you don't have your venom, if you don't have your fangs and your claws, you are going to be food for these wolves out here who, that's their job. That's why they incarnated on this planet to be predators. People are incarnating on this planet and always have to be predators and to be prey, to be wolves and to be sheep. There are human beings that are wolves and there are human beings that are sheep. There are human beings that eat and there are human beings that provide nourishment for others and be incarnated over and over and over again to be slaves to men, to be slaves to children, to be slaves to the state, to the church. We did that already. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, so a lot of us are saying the buck stops with us. We're going to put ourselves first. No, we're not going to hurt other people in pursuit of our own goals and our self-actualization. We're not going to do that. No, of course not. Then it defeats the purpose. You're just like the people you're trying to avoid, right? You become like the predator once you do that. We don't want to do that. We're saying we are now going to have full and complete agency over our thoughts, our bodies, our feelings, and our moves. And whoever doesn't like it, that's too damn bad. And we trust ourselves to make the best decisions for ourselves and our lives and our children by doing that. The problem is this. People think that, oh, because you're a woman, you don't know how to think for yourself. So when you become self-centered, that's a problem because we don't trust the next move you're going to make. We don't trust that you know how to manage your life. But when men are self-centered, they're considered bosses, kings, leaders. They don't have to worry about anybody else, but we do because we're not trusted. And that's the problem. So yeah, Melody trusted herself. She trusted her intuition. She trusted her ability to manifest, right? She listened to God and she said, God said go. That's who her leader is. Martell wasn't her complete and total leader. Yes, he was her husband, but she listened to God too. God told Melody to leave that situation, and Derek Jackson's wife listened to her husband, and now she's still stuck. So Derek Jackson's wife is stuck because she listened to a man, and Melody is gone and free because she listened to God, right? So yeah, Arionne is stuck because she's listening to Martell. She's not listening to God at all. God wouldn't tell her to stay in that situation. So when a woman is self-centered and she's confident in her abilities, this is something she has to do in order to protect herself. We don't get mad at poisonous frogs that kill the predators who bite them. Like, it's your fault for trying to bite me. So if you get hurt because you try to hurt me, that's not on me. That's on you. Martell is mad because in his efforts to hurt Melody, he ended up hurting himself. You can't get mad at the prey for having a defense mechanism. Like, I'm sitting here, a frog with poison on my skin, right? I'm sitting here in the woods, in the jungle, with poisonous stuff on my skin. You know it's poisonous because I'm black and red and I have different colors on me that indicate that I'm poisonous. But you still try to bite me. I don't have no teeth, no fangs, nothing. I just look good. But there's poison on my skin. Now you try to bite me and then you end up dying because of that. That's not my fault. It's not my fault you died trying to hurt me. I would not blame Melody for Martell being hurt because he tried to bite her. He tried to eat her up. But she had some porcupine quills in her back, right? And he tried to swallow her whole, but in the process of trying to swallow her whole, he ended up hurting himself. And that is what he's really mad about. And Arionne is mad because Martell's mad. Because she doesn't know how to individuate between herself and her partner. She becomes whoever her partner is. Definitely a codependent person, which is why Martell likes her, because codependent people also feed off of their partner too. Codependents and narcissists, they're one and the same in a lot of regards. They're like mirror images of each other. So that's why Martell and Arionne are still mad at Melody. They're still taking shots at her. Melody doesn't even care anymore about she might have some teeny bitty concern because of what they did to her, but she's not actively doing anything to address them at all. And this Arionne thinks that the show is about her. It's not about you because of you. It's about you because you're the problem in the situation. So you are a destructive element. You are not a part of the show because you are a productive member of the cast. You are a part of the show because you're a destructive element within this whole dynamic. So now they have to address what is destroying this dynamic, this friendship we had. Why is there a problem? Oh, that's the problem. This is a problem here. It's not the only problem, but this person is a problem. And for you to relish in that and to say, well, it's about me, they're making money off of me, nobody would have known who you were at all. They would have said your name maybe, but we never knew how you looked. We didn't know where you worked. We didn't know anything about you. You know what? I'm going to tell you guys a story, right? And don't. I'm going to tell you guys a story, right? This is a weird story, but I want you guys to listen. This is something similar to what Arionne is doing, okay? So one time I went to the doctor, right? I had an accident and I busted my lip. I needed some stitches. And I was in like the hospital, right? And it was the county hospital because it was the closest to my house. And it's always chaos in those hospitals. So I was in the waiting room. I was waiting in the examination room to get like my painkillers and like the antibiotics, right? And outside the room in triage, I hear a nurse calling out this lady's symptoms. She has this, she has that, she has that, she has that. And it was for an STD. And everybody's looking like, who is that? Nobody knew who this person was. But this big mouth nurse was calling off symptoms for an STD. And people were looking nervous like, who is this for? The person who they were addressing, she stood up. Now, nobody called this lady's name. Mind you, the nurses were talking among each other. No one called this woman's name. And the lady who people didn't know who this was, she said, Miss, you mad loud. You talking about all my business. Now, mind you, nobody would have known who this person was if she had not spoken up at the moment. But, you know, as they say, a hit dog will holler, right? And that's Arionne. Nobody would have known who this person was if she didn't raise her hand and say, oh, it's me. There are thousands of Arionne Currys in the United States. Nobody had to know how you looked and what was going on with you. Melody never even mentioned your name on the show. But you wanted clout. You wanted fame by association. Now you want to be on the show. Now Arionne wants Melody to feed her too, right? That's what predators do. They're on the hunt for new supply. This lady has her own social media. She can make her own platform and tell her own story and write her own book. But no, she wants to use the platform that Melody and her husband and her friends built. But it was Melody's brainchild. You see, it doesn't stop. That's all I have to say about that. I really appreciate you guys' comments and feedback. I look forward to reading all of them again. And I will talk to you guys soon. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.